Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. 28th May, the new Parliament building will be inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There has been a raging debate for the last 3 to 4 days as to why the President of India, who is the head of the Parliament, is not inaugurating the new building, but the Prime Minister. This aside, Home Minister Amit Shah yesterday held a press conference and he brought in a slice of history, making public the fact that the golden spectre or the golden Sengol, which was tucked away all these years in Anand Bhavan, will now be installed in the new Parliament building next to the Speaker's seat. Now, the golden Sengol or the golden spectre is considered to be a sacred emblem of authority. And now the larger question is that was history unfair to this golden Sengol, because it's being said that BJP now will bring out that golden spectre from the museum and now will install in the parliament. It will be purified with holy water and rituals. So was history unfair? That is the first question. And second, how justified is it to bring this historical artifact, taking it out from the museum and bring it to parliament? Lots of things are being said. Say, for example, people are talking about the fact that former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru ignored this artifact, which is supposed to be a Hindu tradition. Lots of things are being said, but the larger question is that what is the logic behind bringing in the golden spectre and installing it in Parliament? I'm joined by a very special panel today. We have the noted historian of the country, Mridula Mukherjee, with us. Thank you, ma'am, so much for joining. We have Mr. Satya Sahu, who is the political commentator, and he's also been the former press secretary to the former president of India, K.R. Narayanan. Thank you, Mr. Sahu. We have Puneet Nicholas Yadav, who is the editor with the Federal. Thank you so much. We have Sudha Halkai, who is the BJP convener. She's joining us from Kalburgi, and I'm told by the party office that she's quite an authority on the subject. Thank you so much, Sudhaji, for joining. We have Pushparaj Pandey, who is the director of the Samrit Bharat Foundation, and he's also the editor with the Penguin India Rethinking series. Thank you so much, Pushparaj, for joining. And I'd like to begin with Mridula ji today, because she is going to give us that slice of history. And question on everybody's mind is that all these years, people did talk about the fact that, yes, sceptre was a historical artifact which was used in the yesteryears. But in today's context of bringing in this golden Sengol and installing it in Parliament, what is the logic behind it, ma'am? And did history really ignore this side?
I think it's a good example of wanting to do something, but also more than wanting to do something new or innovative or good is to make a controversy out of it. You want to install that, go ahead and do it. Is it necessary to say Nehru ignored it, history ignored it? Every stage, every phase has its own logic. Firstly, I hope everybody knows that the old Parliament building was not built in independent India. So that built the whole idea that now there's a new building, you want to decorate it in a particular way, you want to install something new, want to bring a new symbolism. That's all in place. We can discuss what is appropriate, what is not appropriate. That building was not built by Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru, did not have, I think, a Shah Jahan, complex, and didn't want to leave his imprint on this country by building buildings. He did much else to leave his imprint, more in the realm of ideas, institutions, IITs, planning commission, dams, everything. But perhaps for him, these symbols were not the primary things to do in life. Again, to say Nehru is unfair to it, I mean, after all, the whole story that's being put out is that this was handed to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. The whole story is that he asked Rajagopalachari for advice on what could be the symbolic way of transfer of power, right? That's the official story put out by the government of India. If Nehru didn't want it, why would he go and ask Rajagopalachari? Rajagopalachari then consults people in Tamil Nadu, he consults, and then they come out with this from tradition, from Tamil tradition. That's something that's handing over, and it's not really handing over power from one to the other, from what I gathered of what the Tamil tradition is. It's that when a new king was installed, those days kings didn't hand over to the next one, there were no elections. Someone had to either die or be defeated for another person to become the king. So it's the Purohit who was the repository of that tradition, who handed this to the new king. And what did it say? Uphold the path of truth. And there was another thing also, and integrity or something like that. So the idea was to hand over. It is not a symbol of power so much as an injunction from those who are upholding the tradition to the king, how the king should rule. That's the symbolism of this. Now it's being constructed also as some kind of a power symbol. You have it, that means you have the power. It was more a reminder to the king as to how that king should rule in a just and fair and truthful fashion. So the whole story, as you can see, anybody can go and see on social media. Nehru consults Rajagopalachari. He's obviously aware of what's happening. This tradition is then revived. That thing is got made in silver thing with a gold, gold plated, and brought with all due ceremony to Delhi. And then finally, after a process, they go to the Viceroy, get him to give it back to them, and then they come to Nehru, and then the old pictures which are there of Nehru being, the shawl being put around him and he being handed this. Do we anywhere in the story get the picture that Nehru was rejecting Hindu traditions? He resisted it. He did not want it. Somebody forced it down his throat or what? So I don't understand why, to do a good thing also, you must first create a controversy and find some excuse to malign Nehru. Can't we for 1 week give the man a break, yeah? I mean, he died so many years ago. Is it necessary to go on dragging him out and, saying, why did this not happen and why did that not happen? Can't we do anything without him still?
But Mridulaji, I have another question.
Some people have a big chip on their shoulder about Nehru. I wonder why. Nehru jacket becomes Modi jacket. I don't know. I mean, some things are quite strange also.
Mridulaji, but this whole idea of, the people writing that all these years, this sceptre was tucked away in Anand Bhavan, and now all of a sudden, because of a reawakening within the BJP, and I'm going to ask this question to Sudhaji also, but I need an answer from you before I go to her, that what is this logic of bringing this sceptre out of the museum and now installing it in Parliament? Why couldn't former Prime Minister Nehru think about, installing it in Parliament? Was there a reason, a logic?
Unlike many others who claim to know what Nehru wanted, didn't want, I have no way of entering his head and finding out why. I mean, it was something symbolic. As I said, that building was not built then. They didn't have a chip on their shoulder about building a new building for independent India. They were quite happy to continue the old building. They could have said colonial building, Central Assembly, I mean, come on. It's the spirit that counts. You infuse that building with the spirit of independent India, the democratic spirit.
Right.
Even the Constituent Assembly was the old assembly elected in 1946 under the colonial laws. They were even willing to accept that as the Constituent Assembly. It was not even elected by adult suffrage, because you have to, what is important is what you're doing. That Constituent Assembly gave us a constitution which has lasted us till now and should last us for a very long time. So that's what's important. People were not obsessed with symbols and buildings and image building, because they already had larger than life images, people coming out of the freedom struggle. I mean, just see the images of the funeral of Jawaharlal Nehru, the funeral of Mahatma Gandhi. You will then understand why they didn't need buildings. They didn't need to think about where to install a Sengol. And it was in a right place. A museum is not tucked away. A museum is a place for public display where everybody can come. In this Parliament building, how many people will be even allowed to see it? Millions would have seen it in the museum by now.
Yeah.
Okay, here you will have so much security, even someone like us won't be allowed in.
Mm.
I've been into that parliament building probably thrice in my whole life. That too for some parliamentary committee meeting or something like that. Where does the people of India get to see it? So
Okay.
how is it more relevant to have it installed there, not being there? But these are things of debate and discussion.
Right.
You can have a civilized debate over it. What should adorn that building, not.
Sure, sure.
But why everything? Just like the inauguration, I've been saying this since yesterday. Why have you made it into a controversy? Why could you not consult the opposition beforehand? Ask their opinion, build a consensus on something like how to when to inaugurate and who should inaugurate. All this controversy is so unnecessary.
Right.
It is, but obviously there are other motives. Otherwise, why should we be subjected to as a citizen? I object to being subjected to a controversy for something that I hold dear, which is the Parliament of India, which is the symbol of Indian democracy and the symbol of the Constitution.
Now let me go to Sudha Halkai and what Mridula ji just said. What are the motives of BJP? Of course, Amit Shah held a press conference and said that we will bring this sceptre out of the museum, now install it in Parliament. But what is the logic? As Mridula ji was saying, and as a historian, she says that a larger number of people can see that sceptre if it is there in the museum. But to bring it out from the museum, now installing it in Parliament, what is the political messaging of BJP behind doing it really?
Very good afternoon to all our viewers. First of all, I would like to make my opening remark by congratulating our party for the inauguration of the new parliament in the coming days. And regarding the question what you have asked is, what is the purpose? See, our party is very much connected to the roots of our country, our Hindustan, okay? We are very much connected to the heritage of our country. Mridulaji just now told that it was fine in the museum and few of the people could come and see. I just really wonder how many of
Yes.
them lacks together or something. Now it is the whole of the India, probably internationally, they know what is the importance of this Dharma Danda, what we call it actually as, Otherwise, where did even I didn't knew about it. It is only now I know about it. What is the importance of that? And it is not just the sake to give a power symbol or something. It is more of a responsibility that our culture, our heritage, everything is based on dharma. That is, dharma is nothing but being a good human and humanitarian basis.
No, you are saying that it's a responsibility. So all these years when Congress was in power or when the earlier parties were in power, they did not understand this responsibility. It's only
See, okay, when you have come up with a
Narendra
Congress,
Modi who
I'll come.
understands his responsibility.
No. I'll tell you. See, from the Rashtrapat to the democracy, this one, you have seen that, Modi ji is very much, not only Modi ji, the whole of our ideology of the Bharatiya Janata Party is very much connected to the Hindutva and our heritage. I'm very proud of it to say. See, there are so many, I like to give the example like the Rajyapat, whatever that road, it is renamed as Kartavya Path.
Yes.
So Kartavya Path, isn't it? Is it not a matter of pride that we have to, why are we living under the shadows of the slavery?
Right.
Why are we still living even after independence, after 75 years of independence, when we are going to Amrit Kal, that is to 2047, why we are still leading under the shadows of the slavery? We need to come out of it. We need to create our own this one. We have to come back with our own heritage, with our own symbols. And India is a very rich heritageal country, and where now we can see that the whole world is adopting our ideology, our culture, and take it yoga or anything. When it comes to Congress, I'll tell you, it was 1975, Indira Gandhi ji inaugurated the annexure building of the parliament. That was fine. 1987, Rajiv Gandhi inaugurated the library. That was fine. Now they have the problem with inauguration of let me.
So that you haven't given a very credible reason, except for the fact that you are proud of your Hindutva traditions. Except for
it's
that,
not the question of Hindutva traditional.
I asked you about the political messaging of BJP. That answer you've not given, but I'll come back to you because
I'll tell just a minute. I'll tell you.
Mridula wants to make a point. Let me come to her, and then again I'll come back. Yes, Mridula, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, and this has been going on for a long time. This claim that the change of name from Rajpath to Kartavya Path is doing away with the colonial heritage. I'm sorry, as a historian, I get very upset when people don't get their facts right. Before independence, some of us who are old enough know what actually happened. I certainly know from even my childhood memory that used to be Kingsway. And what is now Janpath used to be Queensway. When we were kids, we used to go to Queensway for shopping, not Janpath. All right. Then it was in independent India that the names were changed. Queensway became Janpath, the road of the people. And Kingsway, because remember King George the Fifth had the statue there at one end.
Yes.
So this was known as the Kingsway. It was changed to Rajpath, meaning the state road, because it led to Rashtrapati Bhavan, where the president lived, and that's the symbol of the Indian state. Okay, so these were Indian meanings that were given. So there's nothing colonial about Rajpath and Janpath. Get your history right.
Okay, Sudhaji. So,
Ma'am, I'd like to tell King George he is not an Indian, okay? He's again a British person. That's what I'm saying. We are living under the shadows of the Britishers.
No, we are not.
Under the
We
Slavery
changed
Act.
it in
No, no, she has
early
already given you
50s.
the example. It
You
was
don't
called Kingsway
listen.
and Queensway. That
We
got
changed it
Rajpath.
from Kingsway to Rajpath, not Rajapath. Raj.
It is just from English to Hindi it was changed, ma'am. So I do respect,
The
Kartavyapath is,
Queen does not become Jan in Hindi. I'm sorry. It was the people's road and the state road intersecting. How the people and the state intersect, that symbolism was there in those roads. But this is how history is distorted every day in front of us. Every day you distort history,
Okay,
partly because of
No, ma'am,
ignorance,
I don't
partly
agree
because you
with
don't
this.
even know it.
Okay,
Get your
okay.
facts right.
Now let me.
History,
Okay.
we are it was, history
Okay,
was
Sudhaji, I'll
hidden,
come
we
to
are
you.
reviving
Sudhaji,
it.
let me go to the other panelists now. I'll come back to you, but you did not give me the answer as to what is the political messaging behind bringing in the golden Sengol. Now, let me go to Mr. Sahu. Mr. Sahu, what is the idea according to you, bringing in the golden Sengol from Anand Bhavan now and installing it in parliament? Do you feel that BJP is trying to again distort history? Because a lot of people on social media are writing about the fact that former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru used it as a walking stick. It was tucked away in Anand Bhavan as a walking stick. This is what the social media, the people on the social media are writing. So is there a historic misrepresentation of facts? Is the history being distorted? What is the political messaging according to you, BJP?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to participate. See, I looked at Nehru's writings, particularly letters to chief ministers. Nehru was so sensitive to describe many things that took place during that period of history. I didn't find any reference at all about this. What is this called? Sengol.
Sengol, yes.
Sengol or whatever it is. Okay, then number one, so there is no reference at all to this Sengol. Then second, in Ambedkar's book, Thoughts on Linguistic States for India, it was published in 1955. There is a reference to, it is in Ambedkar puts a question mark. Did not Prime Minister Nehru on 15th of August 1947 sit at yajna performed by the Brahmins of Benares to celebrate the event of a Brahmin becoming the first Prime Minister of free and independent India, and wear the Rajadanda given to him by these Brahmins, and drink the water of Ganges brought by them. Now, this is the only reference I found that Nehru was given a Rajadanda by Brahmins of Benares, in a yajna. I do not know whether Nehru actually attended or not, but Ambedkar puts a question mark. So then we need to authenticate what is being projected now or what is being said now, because frankly speaking, I haven't heard of this Sengol, whatever it is. So recently I was reading this work by Dr. Ambedkar to write an article on to looking at Karnataka BJP Mukt Karnataka from north-south perspective, because Nehru, Ambedkar writes that, north is regressive, south is progressive, north is backward, south is advanced, so and so forth. So in that context, I remember. Second point, if it is said that Rajadanda, or whatever you call it, or it represents a dharma and all that, you see, in the Constituent Assembly, I was going through the debates of the Constituent Assembly. I mean, I'm a little familiar with that, texts of the Constituent Assembly. Nehru clearly says, let me just quote from the, that particular debate, that, this idea of deriving power from the deriving kingship of power from on the basis of divine rights has been borrowed long back. It is no more relevant in the present context. So we need to derive power, derive whatever authority or whatever legitimacy from people. When Nehru actually introduced a resolution in the Constituent Assembly, he said it is the people. And then some people, some of the representatives in the Constituent Assembly, they said, what about the princely states? They are subjects there. Even Indians were subjects in the British Empire. So Nehru says that, we need to derive power from these people who are the sovereigns in this India. So he said we have to transit from subjects to a republic where citizens should be living, and they would be the source of power. They would be the source of mandate for our legitimacy. Then, I also wanted to see this about this Sengol, whether Dr. Radhakrishnan said anything or that, because he's from Tamil Nadu, after all, that was part of Tamil Nadu in Madras province. He says that, what is, he was talking about Biswa Kalyan, India's freedom. He used the word Biswa Kalyan. Now, what you hear now, Biswa Guru. He said India would be dedicated for Biswa Kalyan. Biswa Guru is a highly, a condescending way of looking at the rest of the world. Then he says, that it was Gandhi who taught us how to mobilize people on the basis of non-violence, on the basis of tolerance, coexistence, and so forth. Then he, of course, quotes from other, texts of our ancient civilization to say that, this message of harmonious living is there in our, civilization. So I find it, I do not know from where it has been taken. As Professor Mridula Mukherjee rightly said, there are many things which are actually symbolically done in Parliament, in the Central Hall, and they are kept in museum. And Jawaharlal Nehru described, just 1 second, Jawaharlal Nehru described, he defined museum as congealed history. In one of his speeches on museum, that congealed history is preserved. It is not taken away. So if, as Professor Mridula Mukherjee said, if it was there in the museum, it is open to people, those who visit the museum. So therefore, let me tell you one example of, Mr. Somnath Chatterjee, when he was a member of Parliament, he requested Mr. Narayanan and Parliament authorities that his father's portrait should be unveiled in Central Hall. And he was a member of a Hindu Mahasabha. Probably he was president of Hindu Mahasabha, Mr. N.C. Chatterjee. So Mr. Narayanan unveiled it. And he delivered a brilliant speech where so much information actually which was given to him based on his speeches in the Lok Sabha. And Mr. Somnath Chatterjee, then he said he didn't know as much as Mr. Narayanan knew about his father. And finally, that portrait was kept in the Parliamentary Museum.
Right.
Okay, so then many people that time said, he was a rank communalist as part of Hindu Mahasabha. He named his son as Somnath, primarily to, underline the point that Somnath temple should be resurrected or reconstructed, whatever it is. So there are instances of history from our own recent history when such portraits were unveiled of Hindu Mahasabha leaders also. And it is still there in the Parliamentary Museum. So question is, Now, if you try to revive it, that has to be in tune with the vision of the Constituent Assembly, the ethos of the freedom struggle, and the idea of India enshrined in the Constitution.
Right.
Whether that was compatible.
Yes,
Suppose you invoke.
that's a significant point you're making. And on this point, I will again go back to Sudha before I come to Puneet and Pushpraj. Sudhaji, I really want you to know, I want to know from you that BJP government has been negating the legacy of Nehru. And all of a sudden, they think of, bringing this historical artifact. And where you have negated the freedom struggle in a way, you have negated Nehru's legacy. And now all of a sudden you start talking about the golden Sengol. I really don't understand the logic.
See, all of a sudden we are not. It is not all of a sudden. Now, Pridulaji told that, again, I want to go back to that thing, because he also told that, it was in the museum and a lot of people could have seen that.
It has to be certain conformity. It has to be in certain conformity. It seems that BJP, doesn't seem to be believing too much in constitution. You negate the legacy of former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. Then all of a sudden, Amit Shah holds a press conference and you're saying that this is not all of a sudden.
No. Let me tell you, you are saying that we have been very much constitutional. It is our Bharatiya Janata Party who are very much constitutional. It is the Congress who had plotted to defeat Ambedkarji, and now they're taking the name of Ambedkarji for everything. They're using his name. No, please let me correct. And they had put a lot of allegations on Ambedkarji also, who is the father of our constitution. Congress is always, they're changing their polls now and then. They were against the vaccinations. They took the vaccinations. They're against whatever Modi ji does and Amit Shah ji does. It is a problem for them. Anything you take it, remark it, and the whole world appreciates whatever they're doing. But it is only the Congress who are opposing it. You tell me why for that? When vaccination was given within a year, they opposed it. They told don't take vaccination.
Forget about the vaccination. Let's talk about.
I'm just putting the
constitutional propriety.
I am putting the points on matter that whatever we do, whatever Modi ji does, why are they not talking about? First time they have come up with a brainchild with an idea of coming up with a new parliament. It is almost another 3-4 years. It's going to be 100 years, and the present existing parliament, the old one, it has scarcity of place. It is there is a threat for security. All those reasons are there, and we have come up with such a historical building. Architectural building, historical building has come. Instead of that, they create an issue out of no issue.
I'm talking
is this
about
a matter of thing? Issue out of no issue?
No. Tell me, constitutional propriety, does BJP believe in constitutional propriety? Article 79 of the Constitution clearly says that President is the head of Parliament. President, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, these are the three components of Parliament. Why has Prime Minister Narendra Modi sidelined President Draupadi Murmu for inaugurating
Mr. Narendra Modi ji who has sidelined Draupadi ji, Murmu ji. So one thing I would like you tell me why Indira Gandhi ji inaugurated in 1975, why Rajiv Gandhi inaugurated in 1987. Now let me come into the latest Telangana issue. Just a minute, sir. Let me complete.
I'll come to
Telangana Secretariat building, which is worth more than 1,000 crores, is inaugurated by KCR. Why the governor of Telangana was not there to inaugurate it? The same way in Chhattisgarh also it was done, and where there was a train connections between Worli and this one, there was this inauguration was done by Sonia ji. It is somewhere in more than 1,000 crores. This one was there. Why was it done? She was just the president of the party. Whatever Congress done, it is fine. The party, the family, the Gandhi family is everything. Whatever they do, it is just blindly we have to follow it. It is as if India is their dynasty. But anybody else do it, you have all points fingering at them.
No, but
whatever they have done, it is fine. Okay, see, it is the brainchild. It is, see, let us appreciate Modi ji for coming up with an idea of coming up with new parliament. See, give credit to that. Tap something which is tap someone's back who have done good for that instead of getting into negativity of whatever is done. Please.
Pushparaj. Let me get in a response from Pushparaj. Pushparaj, I really want you to respond to what Sudha Halka has just said. Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to make your acquaintance, Sudhaji. And one request to the panelists, I think we should be a bit more careful with the BJP. Let's not, they're entitled to their own logic and their own facts. So let's at least move away from facts. I think we've dealt with them a lot. Let's deal with the conceptual metaphysical issues that the BJP is raising. because clearly they don't have the facts on their side. So let's move on from that. So firstly, Sudhaji, I do want to respond to you. You said in the beginning you congratulated the BJP for the new parliament. It's not BJP's darbar, it is our parliament. So we should congratulate the Indian people for a new parliament. And the second
Definitely,
thing is to
definitely, I'm
respond to your
congratulating
immediate, yeah. So
congratulating the
yeah,
people
but
of
you
India
started
for
with
the
the
new
BJP. I'm just
parliament, the
correct,
temple of
correct.
democracy. Fine, it
Yeah,
is
the
a temple
BJP is
of
not India and
democracy.
India is not
We
BJP.
check,
That's all. That's the only
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. It is everybody's, every citizen's.
No, no, you said we are
Thank you for
congratulating our
conceding
party.
that.
Okay, okay. So that was
No, no,
one
no.
point.
But she's
Yes,
conceded the point. She's conceded the point.
yes.
So that's fine. So Sengol, signifies the transfer of power from one from the British to the Indians, or as Mridula ma'am said, from one king to the another king. Right? That's the entire point. So let's deal with the first one here. Who is power being transferred from here? There's not a logical thing. I mean, I'm not getting into facts. I'm asking the metaphysical question. Who is power being transferred from here today? If you're making the argument, and I know the BJP's underlying argument is that 2023 means new India. जो भी पहले हुआ कुछ नहीं हुआ. So the entire logic is that nothing happened before 2023. You really need to question the logic of this argument, because the fact is there were 3 BJP governments that actually existed before 2023. These guys are actually insulting their own governments. Vajpayee's government, Janata Dal government, and the VP Singh government, in which they were all there. Are you actually saying that nothing happened before then? This is a bit weird, and you're not only doing that, but you're also insulting so many bureaucrats, so many soldiers, so many academics who contributed to nation building. So that's the first point. The second thing is that the Sengol is typically, I know because we studied history, I'm actually from one of these families, so I know this logic in and out. It is transferred between one king to the other king, and it is not, it is actually done by a high priest. Who is the high priest that is transferring power from whom right now? I'm a practicing Hindu. I'm deeply religious. But in a democracy, in a modern democracy, it is people who elect our leaders. Our leaders are not appointed by a priest, and are they appointed by the outgoing king? Let's be very, very clear about this. Our leaders, including this current prime minister, is accountable to us, the people, and yes, even the MPs. In doing this, PM Modi is basically saying that I'm no longer India's Pratham Sevak. He's basically saying this is his Rajyabhishek, and this, from henceforth, he's going to be the new Shah of India. That's the entire logic. This is
So
such a weird
was
thing to say.
Indira
And see,
Gandhi,
I'm not saying that
Indira Gandhi
Sengol,
also said
let
that
me
she
finish,
was
Sudhaji.
and Rajiv
Let
Gandhi
him
also
finish
said
his
No one
point.
interrupted you.
Sudha,
Let me
I'll
finish
come to
here.
you.
Let me finish.
Finish his point.
I don't
Yes.
see, I don't, no, one second, Neeluji, 1 second. I don't want to discuss about what happened in 2020, before 2023. I'm interested in the future, going forward. पिछले जो भी हुआ वो खत्म हो गया है. Let's not talk about the past unless the BJP has invented a time machine in which we are going to be able to go back and fix things. We are now only concerned about what happens henceforth. Everything before now is irrelevant to the future now. Let's be very clear about that. I'm a student of history. Senegal does have an important place. It is a very important part of Chola history. If it is an important part of history, it needs to be prominently displayed. Display it in a palace or in a museum. It does not have a place in parliament. I mean, by this logic, if you really hold true to its logical conclusion, you can say that on 15th August at midnight, Pandit Nehru wore a sherwani. Let's display that. Let's display the pen that Baba Sahib Ambedkar signed the constitution with, or Rajendra Prasad's spectacles. Let's all display this in the parliament. You can't do this. This is not illogical. All of these are artifacts, historical artifacts that belong in their rightful place, in a museum, in a palace, in a temple, not in parliament. The only symbol that should be displayed in parliament is the constitution of India. That's it, period. Nothing else.
Okay. So
and I just want to end this because I want to, sorry, I just want to make one last point, which I really want Sudhaji to answer. Yes. Tamil kings, Chola kings were either Senegal or Kodungol Achi, right? Because based on their adherence to truth and justice. Now, the BJP in the last 9 years has done nothing to respect parliament. 155 MPs suspended in the last 9 years. 11 ordinances per year. 71% of the bills bypass through parliament. What are you talking about? PM Modi has not answered a single question in the last 9 years in parliament. Ministers are disrupting it. What kind of, if you're really adhering to this symbolism, what kind of Achi is it going to be? Kodugunal or Sengol?
Sudha, respond, please. Respond to this. The symbol of
no, 1 minute. I'm not understanding from where I should start the contribution of Modi ji. Huh? Taking from the security of the borders. Huh?
We are talking about parliament, madam. Parliament. His contribution to parliament, period.
Very interesting.
We are asking about
Sengol is going
what
to
is
be
happening in
installed
parliament.
Parliament.
We are not
So
talking
now-
about BJP's history.
Yes.
We're not in the realm of myths right now. Talk about parliament in the new inauguration.
Respond on parliament, please. Yes.
We are talking about the parliament only. You are talking about the getting the Dharma Danda in the parliament. Why not? Why it was given to Nehru ji then? Why it was given to Nehru ji then? Why it shouldn't be kept now? See, you are not talking about the developments, what is being done, what is a historical thing
How
being
is that
done.
relevant
You
to the
just want
inauguration of the parliament?
See, what I just don't understand how you people come out of an issue with no issue, you make it, and that debate goes on. See,
That is
there is
what the whole
development.
country is
That
asking
the
about
whole
BJP
India,
right
the
now.
whole country is happy that the new parliament is coming. The
Who's happy?
citizens of India
Who's
are
happy? Half the people don't even know about this Sengol. Now, all of a sudden, Amit Shah holds a press conference and he says that, see, we are bringing out this Sengol from the museum and we'll place it in parliament.
It is
We
not
are
the
only
question of the
questioning
single. I'm
logic.
talking about the
Sudha,
parliament. I'm talking
Sudha,
about
we
the
are just
larger
questioning
aspect.
the
Let us
logic.
talk about the larger aspect of the inauguration of the parliament. Okay. See, you take it, you take the data, how many, you just see it on the net, how many people of India are happy that new parliament is being inaugurated today.
Okay.
And
okay.
we are not
Let me go to Puneet now. Let me go to Puneet.
it is
You
given to
haven't
Nehru
answered
ji.
any of the
Not
questions which
today.
were raised by
Not
Pushpraj.
today.
Well, let me go to Puneet now. Puneet, this logic is beyond the comprehension as to why all of a sudden this golden Sengol is going to be installed in Parliament. Now, is there a political messaging really, which Sudha, of course, has not answered? But what I had in mind, I'll share it with you.
I have answered it, but I don't know how
Okay,
far
Sudha,
you
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. You have your logic and I'll come back to you. Okay. But is this a reaching out exercise of BJP to the Tamil Nadu after they've lost Karnataka elections? That is first point. And second is, of course, that, a symbol of monarchy. What is the logic behind placing it in parliament now? Yes, according to you.
Well, Neelu, I think the problem here is when you have a regime and a ruler, since we're talking about scepters being passed from king to king, that has an insatiable appetite for megalomania and a sort of a reverse cultural appeasement that they want to do. This is, what we get. Now, I mean, all kinds of things that they've been talking about. I'll take 2 minutes before, coming to the political aspect. Some of it has been covered by Pushpraj, a few points Professor Mukherjee touched upon. I'd like to, just take a few steps back and look at this whole thing of new parliament and, what Sudhaji is calling historical building. And it's a building that has not even been inaugurated as yet. How has it become historical? I don't know. But,
it's going to be inaugurated. It's going to be inaugurated. That's the reason we are on debate today.
Yeah. It's going to be inaugurated. That does not make it a historical building. There is a different meaning to the word.
It's an iconic building. It's an iconic architectural structure.
Okay. Let him complete his point, sir. Yes.
But
yes.
That aside, look at any of the democracies around the world. Any democracy around the world, you will not see their people, irrespective of which political formation comes to power, looking at their parliament with such contempt, only to glorify a new structure that they are creating. A new structure that is devoid of any historical significance, a new structure that is, I would personally say, devoid of even aesthetics. Then you have a sort of this fanciful idea of renaming everything. So whether it is Kartavya Path or whatever, renaming cities, renaming places, renaming roads, because you don't want to build anything that the people can be proud of. You want to rename things that previous regimes, irrespective of which party was in power, have built. And now let's, look at this whole thing of Sengol and what Pandit Nehru did and what Pandit Nehru did not. Now, look at Pandit Nehru as an individual, where his sensibilities were. Professor Mukherjee is an authority. She would correct me if I'm wrong. For a man who so deeply was passionate about secularism, he is given this idea by Rajaji that transfer of power, the best symbolic gesture could be a Sengol. Now the Sengol arrives in Delhi with all kinds of Hindu religious symbolism attached to it. Does Pandit Nehru, who is not overt Hindus, like we have today, everyone wants to wear their religion on their sleeve. Does he say that, no, because there has been Ganga Jal sprinkled on it, or there have been, priests associated with it, or it's, mind you, it's not a symbol of transfer of power that is uniform throughout the country. It belongs to a certain part of the country and a certain dynasty of that part of the country. Does Pandit Nehru say, no, I'm not going to do this? He doesn't. He accepts it. Now, you have, the other problem is when you rely on WhatsApp forwards and propaganda that is circulated by a certain political party, and even spokespersons of those parties fall for that and think that that is more accurate than historical text, that is where the problem lies. So you go to, now, I mean, the question of who is inaugurating the parliament and who is not inaugurating, who has not been invited, etc. You go to the Meenakshi temple in Madurai. You have a mural depiction of the Sengol being passed to the king by the goddess. Okay, by the goddess. You go to the Ramalinga Palace in Ramanathpur. You have another painting there where you have the presiding deity, the goddess Rajeshwari, passing on the sceptre, the Sengol, to the king. What do you do when you inaugurate this new parliament? You don't invite the president, who happens to be a woman.
Why this was
And
not considered during the Congress time, also during Indiraji and during Rajiv Gandhi? Then in that case, you shouldn't have.
I did not interrupt you. I listened to all of you for 40 minutes.
I'll come to you.
Please.
And
Yeah,
secondly,
sorry. Go
please,
ahead.
If you think that inaugurating an annex and inaugurating a library is the same, or even inaugurating a new assembly is the same, at the same level as inaugurating a new parliament complex, then I'm sorry, I don't think one can even, argue with you on that. An annex or a library is not the same as the whole structure. Now, the political aspect of it is, you have one, as I said, this whole thing of cultural appeasement, for a party that keeps, that says in public that it eschews any kind of appeasement, and it keeps blaming the Congress and the previous regimes of appeasing a certain religious denomination or different groups. What are you essentially doing? You're boasting about the Nandi on the top of the scepter. You're talking about various kind of Hindu culture associations with this. Is this not some kind of a reverse cultural appeasement that you're doing? So that's a wider audience that you're trying to reach out to instead of a minority. And then the obvious association one draws with Tamil Nadu and the BJP's repeated failure of breaching that electoral bastion. And I can tell you today that come 2024 or in the next assembly election, in 2024 for certain, you will see this making this whole thing about the Sengol making an entry into the electoral rhetoric of the BJP, because that is what this party has been doing all through.
Right.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, I am now coming to you, all of you, one by one for the last remarks, because we'll have to end the program. Yes, Sudha, over to you first now.
Yeah, one thing. What he said was he was talking about the he was talking about the development. First and foremost, Rajiv Gandhi himself told that if 1 rupee is sent to the beneficiaries, 85 paisa there was a leakage of 85 paisa, only 15 paisa reached to the beneficiaries. Whereas in Modi ji's government, you can see that when 27 lakh crores have been deposited into the beneficiaries through digital transaction. This is the development. First thing, you take it opening of the
why are you bringing in the development story here?
Yeah,
we are
because he has told
new
me
parliament, the Sengol. You are bringing in
one second. Because Yadavji told that BJP is not towards talking about the development. He has mentioned that. That's the reason I interrupted, and now I'm answering to whatever remarks he has made on my party. I need to answer it on this channel. He's told that we are not towards development. We are only making all these monuments or historicals or all those things. So I need to put forth what all developments we have done. Take it construction of the Shauchalayas, which was most needed. Being a woman, we do understand how important it is. More than 40 lakhs only in Karnataka. More than 40 lakh Shauchalayas were constructed, and 38 lakhs LPGs were given in Karnataka. And forget about throughout India, so many developments have taken. Take it manufacturing of our own helicopters over here, and take it coming up with the AIMS. How many AIMS institutions have been brought up by the Congress government after the independence? It was only 1 or 3. It is now 16 AIMS are there throughout India. Didn't you see? With the increase of the population, we need to develop everything. So this our party is completely connected. It is in both the ways. Take it to the development, to the highest remarks, comparing with the developed nations throughout the world. We are connected to the heritage of the country. So you can see the development in both the ways. You cannot just say that we are only towards Hindutva or all other things, whatever remarks he has made. I think they should go through the data today, what all BJP government has taken. Take it railway connections, take it the number of highways. It is more than 50 to 60% development has been done. What has been developed in the 56%?
Development accompanied with distortion of history.
We are not with the distortion of the history. We are very much with the coming up with the upbringing of the history, reviving the history. That's what I'm saying. We are very much connected to the heritage, as well as they were against construction of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya.
Shall I just
against everything?
What Amit Malviya tweeted? Shall I just read out to you your own IT cell head Amit Malviya tweeted on Sengol? Now the discussion is on Sengol, the new parliament meeting. Or how BJP misrepresents. This is the discussion all about. Amit Malviya writes that the vesting of the sacred Sengol with Jawaharlal Nehru on the eve of India's independence was the exact moment of transfer of power from British to India. This is what he has written. So the only question we are asking is,
so why shouldn't that be kept in the new parliament? That is one historical moment. And
give us a credible logic. Why you want to put it? Give us a credible logic.
That's what he has already told it. No, it is the transfer of the power from the Britishers to the Indians.
Madam, that is wrong. That is wrong. That is wrong.
Okay, now okay, fine. So you have nothing more to add. Now let me get in a brief response from everyone. Yes, Mr. Sahu, very briefly. Yes.
See, if Mountbatten handed over that thing to Nehru, as it is claimed, because one has to do a lot of research to find out, but then it was in the dominion status that India enjoyed from 15th August to 26th January 1950. Mountbatten was appointed as the first Governor General. If it was real transfer of power, okay? number one. Number two, Constituent Assembly में, what did we adopt? Ashoka Chakra. You know, that our emblem, national emblem, flag. Even Nehru appointed a calendar committee under the chairmanship of, you know, calendar committee, Sakoera. Sakoera was adopted. It's not from British period. It is from our own heritage. And who was the chairman of the calendar committee? Professor Meghnad Saha, one of the leading astrophysicists of that time. Okay, so point is, or for that matter, if you say our heritage, when Nehru wrote the, you know, I mean, look at the discovery of India. Do you think anybody else has celebrated the heritage of India rather than Nehru? And other thing, see, when
we
Apsara
Nehrujis will not talk about it. We know what has
just
happened.
1 minute, 1 minute,
Kashmir,
please listen to me.
yeah.
Okay, so let
Just
him please
listen
go
to me.
and go to the other guests also.
See,
Running out of time.
so the Hindutva thing which Madam said, BJP spokesperson or, you know, that respected Madam, you know, look at Ambedkar, what he wrote about Hindutva and Savarkar in his book, Partition or Pakistan of India. He said Hindu Rashtra will be a calamity for India, and Savarkar's binary of, you know, Punya Bhumi, Pitru Bhumi, and then subordination of Muslims will result in, you know, permanent safety, it result in danger to the safety and security of India. This is Ambedkar's view. You know, you can have a look at that. So therefore, my point is, what is important on that occasion is, you know, our national symbol is there. Ashoka emblem is there. Our national flag is there. Flag was opposed by RSS and BJP. I mean, when Johnson, etc., etc. So the point is, we need to do research. What exactly this? I have to accept it. You know what is being projected by Mr. Amit Shah.
Mr. Sahu, very
research.
briefly, Mr. Sahu, so you are of the opinion that this has been done thoughtlessly by BJP, or bringing in the sceptre and installing it in parliament?
You know, it might have been. I think it must have been done keeping in mind the Tamil Nadu elections or Tamil Nadu people.
Yes.
You know, because after their loss, you know, South India is now BJP mukt in terms of BJP establishment, BJP government, whatever. So I agree with Mr. Puneet that possibly
Just with only one state elections, you can't say that.
No, just 1 minute, madam,
This
1
is
minute.
Reach out. That's what
See,
we are saying.
what did they do in Kerala? They talked about Bali and all that. You know, during Mr. Amit Shah did it.
Sure. Okay.
So,
Now, Mrs. Sahu, sorry to interrupt you because we are really running short of time. Yes, Mridula ji,
Sure.
what would you say towards the end? And then I'll come to Pushparaj and Puneet for the last comments. Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, being a historian, I am obsessed with facts. And when somebody utters a complete non-fact in my presence, as a teacher, I'm also compelled to live out my dharma of correcting mistakes. So I can't not point out that, you know, the person who got Ambedkar into the assembly and who made Ambedkar the chairman of the drafting committee. It was Gandhiji who asked the Congress, bring him in on your seat. Okay? That's how he came into the assembly. And then he was given, and you know the history of, he was never in the Congress. He had in fact been a member of the Viceroy's Council. He had had his whole public spat with Mahatma Gandhi, and he had criticized Mahatma Gandhi in very sharp terms. And yet, the spirit that the Congress and the freedom struggle wanted to bring to independent India was, now that we have become independent, it is our common job to build the nation. Why did Congress had majority? Why did they bring in Mukherjee? Shama Prasad Mukherjee into the cabinet. It was, they didn't need a coalition government, for God's sake, you know, but they brought in a member of the Hindu Mahasabha, the president of the Hindu Mahasabha. They brought in Ambedkar. It's the opposite. Instead of asserting their majority and saying we don't care two hoots for the future opposition, they said you all come because this is a common task. So saying they conspired to defeat Ambedkar. You are talking of few years.
Shama Prasad ji Mukherjee's death.
Can you let me finish?
Yes,
I did not interrupt you. Let me finish. Don't bring in another non-fact I don't want to call them falsehoods. Now I know what you'll tell me. Shyam Prasad Mukherjee was put in jail and killed by Nehru government. I know, we all know your list of facts, which you always bring in no matter what the topic. You have a rata hua thing, Nehru on Kashmir, Nehru on China, Nehru this. We already know them, no? So please, let's have a debate on the subject. Let me finish. So these are, this is not the way to go about distorting history by cooking up facts. It's one thing if you have your own interpretation of history, but it's another thing if your interpretation of history is based on falsehoods. Then it becomes my duty as a historian, first and foremost, as a citizen of India, to first point out, please stick to the facts. Ambedkar later left the Nehru cabinet because he was impatient about the Hindu Code Bill, again, which the BJP's ancestors opposed tooth and nail. They did not want reform, which favored women, which created a possibility of divorce, which gave property rights to women. We can bring in all these stories every time BJP comes up. He'll say, you did this, you did that. I mean, that's not the way to go about. As Pushparaj said, let's talk about the future. So what this is doing, I mean, I didn't want to be so blunt about it in the beginning, but we can all see this.
Absolutely.
The whole idea is, as Puneet called it, reverse cultural appeasement. Now you want to bring in an overt Hindu symbol into the parliament. I mean, any kid can make out what the game is all about. There could be a little Tamil game to it. There could be a Hindu game to it. It's all that. Otherwise, you're looking for symbols. There are so many symbols,
Right.
of Mother India. The flag is there. The chakra is there. The constitution is there. I mean, look at our constitution, the way to say that they did not know Indian tradition. Have you looked at a copy of the constitution? The formal ones which were brought out then? Each page was decorated. Right? By whom? By the Nandalal Bose was brought in to illustrate. And what were the images on each page? All from Indian tradition. Folk dancers are there, this image is there, that image is there. All of Indian art is brought into the first formal copies of the constitution. As my friend Satya said, you're saying Nehru didn't know Indian tradition? Please read the first part. Spend one evening reading Nehru on the ancient India. Nehru on the Upanishads. The glorious way, the way in which he eulogizes the Vedic tradition, the Upanishads. I have not read anybody associated with the BJP coming close to that depth of understanding of the real meaning of Hinduism, its philosophical basis.
Right.
Read about what he says about Vivekananda. He's ecstatic about Vivekananda. You are telling false stories. You are denying our people their true history, their true ancestors. And that is why people like me sometimes get a little overexcited.
Okay. Yes, Pushpraj, what would you really like to say? Because if you look at the social media, the entire social media is full of the fact that no other PM has done what Narendra Modi is now going to do on 28th May. Yes. Very brief comment.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yes. Go ahead. Yes, Pushpraj.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, there was a slight network connection here. No. So if they want to, if the BJP government wants to install the Sengol, let them. I'm glad that they are using the Sengol that was graced by Pandit Nehru's hands. Something they're doing for Pandit Nehru. They can't live without Nehru. They can't function without Pandit Nehru. So it's very good that they're doing that. But my larger question is, what is this new parliament for?
Yeah.
The new parliament is
Your audio is breaking, Pushpraj.
more MPs, right? Representation contingent on the census operation. Am I audible again?
Yeah. I lost you in between. Tell me.
No, I'm saying the new parliament is for accommodating more MPs. 888, if I'm not mistaken. The problem is that the BJP government has not conducted the census operations in 2021. So how are you going to do the delimitation, and where are the new MPs coming from? The Sengol and the parliament is what? Is that a symbol for Prime Minister Modi's anti-democratic credentials? What is this parliament for? You can't get more MPs in. Please, I would really urge Sudhaji to answer this. How are you getting more MPs elected? How are you getting delimitation done without the census operation being conducted? And if there is going to be no more MPs, what is the BJP going to sit there with empty chairs and talk to each other? Are they going to do this massive kitty party at the national stage?
Okay, now I really don't have time to go to Sudhaji, but I'll come to you very briefly, but I want to get in a brief comment from Puneet. Yes, Puneet, and then for the last word, we'll go to Sudha then. Yes.
Oh, well, I think, Neelu, this talk of new India that the BJP keeps coming up with all the time, I think if you were asking, about what sense does this make? I think in the construct of that new India that the BJP has, it makes perfect sense. Where you have one ruler who rules the country like a monarch, not as a democrat, but a monarch. And you even have a parliament, because I don't know if Sudhaji has seen the designs and the plans for the new parliament. For those of us who know the plans for the new parliament, if you see the plans for the new parliament, it is an absolutely closed door structure. It does not even have, and this, of course, they had already done a trial run with the existing parliament where the media was cut off, where Central Hall was, access to Central Hall was cut off. All those things had already been brought in. Here, you have that compartmentalization. So there is no Central Hall. There is obviously going to be no dialogue. So as Pushparaj and Mridulaji were talking about, you're going to place the Sengol there, fine. Who is going to come and actually have a look at it? Except, of course, on the TV screens, because we know how the Prime Minister loves TV screens. That's how he communicates with the people, a one-way communication. So with that construct of new India, I think this fits in perfectly. Absolutely. And that possibly is the only goal that it serves.
Okay, so now one very brief comment after this long discussion we've had. The entire impression which the people get is that Modi ji is trying to reconstruct everything, reconstruct the parliament, do away with the constitution, adopt a new, probably a presidential form of governance. Maybe all this is just starting now. Let's say it honestly if it's happening, because everything happens under a cover.
First and foremost, I think they should accept that the existing parliament it was insufficient to occupy all of them. Even it was difficult to place the desk at the second row also, and it is if you have to accommodate more people, it was not possible. When we are coming up with a larger platform, then why not it should be acceptable? And 880 crores or whatever it is not a big amount. Where we are coming up only in the states, they're coming up with more than 1,000 crores for the state assembly secretarial buildings. So that is not a huge, this one they're talking about today, investment or something. One thing. And second is what they're telling, why it should not be done. Why it should not be done? Because in 2016, I think 2026, the number of parliament seats are going to be increased, and delimitation has already been changed, and they're waiting for the interim reports.
But have you done the
census? Not come to the conclusion.
Where is the census happened? That's what Pushparaj.
That's what I'm telling. They're on the process with that. They'll come with that. I'm saying they'll come up with the interim reports. Let them wait. 2020-26, the number of seats are going to increase. In the future, you will be very much.
You're saying that everybody has to wait for everything. Everyone has to wait for all the processes to happen. But the only thing which is a constant is Modi ji before the cameras, holding the sceptre, inaugurating the parliament. That's what the nation has to be ready with. I suppose from what you're saying, but I'm really running short of time. I cannot extend this discussion. Thank you so much, Mridula Mukherjee. It was wonderful having you on the program. Mr. Sahu, Sudha, thank you so much. Pushparaj, Puneet, it was wonderful having you on the program. And one appeal to the viewers who are watching this discussion, send us your feedback, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned to the Federal. Thank you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.